Yeah, a question that I've had that's come up. I just really have started doing the work. I'd say it's been over the last month or so, and so I'm really new at it. But one of the things that I've noticed is that when I do a worksheet on something that is an issue about myself, it actually seems to be more helpful than when I'm doing it about a judgment about someone else. Um, and I've been reading a lot of Katie's books, and I've heard over and over again the advice that it's really better to start with focusing on someone else and judgment that you might have towards them. But I do, and I've tried to do that a number of times. It feels more powerful somehow to be doing it about something that I'm worried about, or focusing on that I'm stressed about. And I just was curious about that. What your advice would be?
Yeah, I would say trust your experience. You are in the driver's seat with this process always, and if you're noticing kind of it's powerful for you, then trust that. That's all this is about. It's about listening to yourself, getting in touch with yourself, and finding balance, finding peace for yourself. And you know, the guideline there, it's a good guideline to focus on other people and see yourself. There's some advantages that come with that. For example, it's like looking in the mirror to see your face. Sometimes when you have a mirror there, you can see things that you wouldn't see otherwise. But sometimes you don't need a mirror. You're already focused there, and so why would I ignore that just to do it right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Like so. Just trust your stress. Your stress is going to point you exactly where you need to work, and keep in mind that there may be value in experimenting with the Judge Your Neighbor worksheet and judging others, and using that from time to time. But I see it as a tool. It's a tool for helping me to identify stressful thoughts when I'm already judging somebody else. But there are times when I'm not. I'm judging myself, and so then I wouldn't use that tool. I would use the tool of just writing the stressful thought that I have about myself and questioning it. And Katie sometimes says that when you're starting with the work, uh, focus more on judging others and then turning it around to yourself. The reason for that is that sometimes when you're new, it doesn't always happen this way, but sometimes when you're new, you don't quite. It's like it's not always clear what the intention of this work is or how to use it, and sometimes people can kind of use the work, maybe even unintentionally, to almost justify like themselves, or like where they would be doing the opposite of taking self responsibility, and that doesn't lead to peace. You would feel it right away,
Yeah.
but if you're not doing that, then there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Byron Katie says many, many times, question anything, any stressful thought. And so as you gain more experience and as you already have experience, then you can trust this process. You know the feeling that happens when balance starts to come in. And that's all we're looking for. So if the balance is too much on self-judgment, then there might be a need to move it, like question those thoughts so that I can move back into balance and be less hard on myself or whatever the stressful thought is. So yeah, I'm a big fan of trusting whatever the stress is pointing me, whatever direction the stress is pointing me in. And but I'm also a big fan of the Judge Your Neighbor worksheet, and I use it all the time. There's something interesting. I think of there being kind of primary and secondary stressful thoughts. Like the primary ones are usually like what got me upset in the first place, and the secondary ones are often they're often self-judgments or they're reactions out of that. So let's say somebody was mean to me, then my first stressful thought is like they shouldn't be mean to me, or they're putting me down, or they're not listening to me, or something that's other focused. But then I might take that immediately and go into and that means I'm a terrible person, or I'm unlovable, or there's something wrong with me, or anything like that. It's a secondary thought, but it's where my stress is right in that moment. So sure, I can work on that and just see if I can find a little balance there. But don't forget the original source, which is, you know, they think I'm whatever. They think I'm
Mm.
a jerk or something like that. Like that's if I question that thought, often not only will I get more clarity and peace around them, but my self judgment will also loosen and maybe fall away as well. So that's like the broad perspective of where I how I use the two approaches. But I absolutely give myself 100% freedom to question any thought whatsoever, just
Mm.
whatever form it takes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome.